What does it mean to live a truly ethical life? It's easy to do the right thing when people are watching, when there's applause for honesty, rewards for kindness, or consequences for cutting corners. But what about when no one's there? When the camera's off, the receipt is unprinted, or the lie would never be discovered? Would you still choose integrity? That's the real test. Immanuel Kant, a philosopher who cared less about outcomes and more about the purity of our intentions, believed morality isn't a performance. It's not about looking good, it's about being good, even in the dark. Kant's philosophy isn't just some dusty academic theory. It's a mirror. It asks, are your choices consistent with the kind of world you'd want to live in? Imagine if everyone acted exactly as you do in those quiet, unobserved moments. Would society crumble or flourish? That's the heart of his categorical imperative, a compass for ethical decisions. For example, if you're tempted to cheat on taxes because everyone does it, Kant would challenge you. What if everyone truly did it? Systems would collapse, trust would evaporate. The very act becomes unthinkable. That's how you know it's wrong, not because of fear of punishment, but because it fails the test of universal fairness. This isn't about rigid rules, it's about liberation. When you align your actions with deep principle, you stop wrestling with gray areas. Ever notice how exhausting it is to keep track of lies or justify shortcuts? Living ethically by Kant's standard cuts through that noise. Think of a time you returned lost money or spoke up when it was easier to stay silent. That quiet pride afterward, that's the strength he's talking about. So ask yourself, where in your life are you waiting for applause to do the right thing? And what would change if you didn't need it? At the heart of Kant's philosophy is the categorical imperative, a simple but profound rule. Act only in a way that you would want everyone, everywhere, to act in the same situation. It's not about what feels convenient in the moment or what might get you ahead. It's about asking, if everyone did this, would the world still function? Kant believed morality isn't a matter of emotions, instincts, or even consequences. It's about reason. He wasn't interested in whether an action made you happy or got you what you wanted. He cared about whether it was right, deep down in its very logic. Think about lying. We've all been tempted to twist the truth to avoid trouble or gain an advantage. But what if everyone lied whenever it suited them? Trust would shatter. Promises would mean nothing. Even the lie itself would lose its power, because no one would believe it. The same goes for stealing. Sure, taking something you want might benefit you in the short term, but if everyone stole, society would collapse into chaos. The categorical imperative forces us to confront the real cost of our choices, not just for ourselves, but for humanity itself. This is where true moral strength comes in. It's easy to be kind when people are watching or generous when it's praised. But Kant challenges us to go deeper, to act rightly even when no one would know, simply because it's what reason demands. That's discipline. That's integrity. That's the kind of character that doesn't bend with the wind. So ask yourself, where in my life am I making exceptions for myself that I wouldn't want others to make? What if you held yourself to the same standard you wish the world followed? That's the power and the challenge of living by principle. Kant's universalizability principle isn't just philosophy. It's a mirror, one that strips away our excuses and shows us the truth of our choices. Every decision we make carries an invisible question. Could the world run on this rule? It's easy to justify small betrayals, a white lie, cutting in line, taking credit we didn't earn, because we tell ourselves, it's just this once. But morality isn't built on exceptions. Imagine if everyone treated honesty, fairness, and respect as optional. The chaos wouldn't just be out there. It would erode the very trust that lets us live, work, and love without constant suspicion. That's the power of this test. It forces us to confront whether our actions deserve to be universal. Psychologically, this shifts ethics from something we perform to something we live. Ever noticed how guilt lingers after a dishonest moment, even if no one caught you? Or how pride quietly glows when you do the right thing despite temptation? That's because we know deep down whether our choices align with the world we'd want to inhabit. The universal law test cuts through self-deception. For example, If you're tempted to ghost a friend instead of having a hard conversation, ask, what if everyone abandoned relationships the second they became uncomfortable? The answer reveals the cost, not just to others, but to your own integrity. Make this personal. Before you act, pause and ask, if everyone did this, would life be richer or emptier? Not would it be convenient, not would I benefit, but would humanity function? That's the daily discipline of true ethics. It's not about being perfect, it's about aligning your life with principles that, if followed by all, would create a world you'd be proud to live in. So tonight, reflect. Where did you pass the test today? Where did you rationalize? The mirror doesn't lie. The good news? You get to choose what it reflects tomorrow. Kant's second formulation of the categorical imperative cuts straight to the heart of how we treat one another. Never use people as mere means to an end, but always as ends in themselves. Think about the last time someone flattered you just to get a favor, or when a company pretended to care about you while only seeing your wallet. That hollow feeling? That's what happens when dignity is reduced to utility. Every person, whether a stranger, a rival, or even someone you dislike, carries the same irreducible worth as you do. They're not stepping stones for your ambitions, props for your story, or obstacles to bypass. They're human beings, with their own dreams, fears, and right to respect. This isn't just lofty idealism, it's psychological wisdom. Using others leaves a residue. Ever ghosted someone to avoid discomfort, strung along a coworker for personal gain, or stayed in a relationship out of convenience? Even if you got away with it, something inside knows. That subtle shame or restless justification is the weight of violating this principle. Conversely, think of moments you truly saw someone, listening when it wasn't convenient, honoring boundaries even when it cost you, or choosing honesty over manipulation. There's a quiet pride there, a sense of being aligned. That's the peace Kant is pointing to, the kind that comes not from being nice, but from recognizing that every person's humanity is as sacred as your own. So here's the challenge. Recall a time you treated someone as a means to your end. Maybe you interrupted a colleague because their ideas didn't serve yours, or kept a friend around only when they were useful. Sit with that memory. Now imagine if you'd pause to ask, am I honoring their humanity, or just my agenda? The answer isn't about guilt, it's about freedom. Because when you stop seeing people as tools, you start seeing them as they are. And in that clarity, you'll find not just better ethics, but a lighter soul. The question now is, who in your life deserves to be seen anew? Kant's most radical idea was this: true morality isn't about what feels good, it's about what's right, even when every fiber of you resists. Imagine you're at a crossroads where honesty will cost you dearly. Maybe admitting a mistake loses you a promotion, or staying faithful means walking away from a thrilling temptation. In those moments, desire whispers, just this once, but duty demands, this is who you are. That's the crucible of character. Kant didn't care if your actions made you happy or successful. He cared if they came from respect for the moral law itself, the unshakable commitment to do what's right simply because it is right. Every time you choose duty over desire, you're not just acting ethically, you're sculpting your soul. Think of a parent waking up at 3 a.m. to comfort a sick child, not because they want to, but because it's their responsibility. Or a whistleblower risking their career to expose corruption, knowing the personal cost. These choices forge a quiet, unbreakable self-respect. Contrast that with the hollow aftertaste of taking shortcuts or betraying your values for temporary gain. The irony? The more you practice choosing principle over convenience, the stronger your moral muscle becomes, and the less it feels like sacrifice. So ask yourself, where in my life am I avoiding the hard but right choice? Maybe it's ending a relationship that's wrong but comfortable, or admitting fault when pride screams to deflect. Remember, your legacy won't be measured by wins or comforts, but by those moments you stood firm when no one was watching. Duty is the price of integrity. And the reward? A self you can look in the eye, unflinching, for a lifetime. Kant's most surprising idea turns conventional wisdom on its head. True freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. It's the power to act according to your deepest principles, no matter the cost. Think about it. When you lie to avoid consequences, you're enslaved to fear. When you manipulate others for gain, you're chained to their reactions. But when you act from moral law, something extraordinary happens. You become unshakable. No one can bribe your integrity. No temptation can derail your purpose, and no outside opinion can dictate your worth. That's not restriction, that's liberation. This is the paradox of Kantian ethics. By obeying the moral law within, you actually break free from everything that limits you. Consider the addict who craves instant gratification versus the person who chooses long-term health, or the people pleaser who bends to every demand versus the grounded individual who stands firm in their values. Who's truly free? Discipline isn't self-punishment, it's self-respect in action. Every time you refuse to cheat, even when you're desperate, or speak up, even when it's unpopular, you're not just doing the right thing. You're declaring that your choices belong to you, not to circumstance. Reframe your thinking. That voice urging you to cut corners isn't freedom. It's your weakest self masquerading as liberation. Real power looks like looking in the mirror and knowing your actions align with your soul. Ask yourself today, where have I been confusing impulse with freedom? And what would it feel like to walk through the world with the unbreakable confidence of someone who's mastered themselves? That's the invincibility Kant promises. Not control over others, but total command of your own moral compass. That's how ethics become emancipation. In a world of viral misinformation, corporate greed, and disposable relationships, Kant's ethics aren't just philosophical, they're revolutionary. Imagine applying his litmus test to everyday dilemmas. Would I want a world where everyone ghosts instead of communicates honestly? Where colleagues take credit for others' work? Where social media thrives on manufactured outrage? Suddenly, what's normal reveals its moral cost. This isn't about perfection, it's about refusing to let complexity become an excuse for complacency. When you choose to return the extra change a cashier mistakenly gave you, or resist sharing that unverified scandalous post because it's just how the internet works, you're doing more than being ethical. You're preserving dignity in a system that often rewards its erosion. Inconsistency drains us. Ever noticed how exhausting it is to keep track of half-truths, or how heavy it feels to laugh at a cruel joke just to fit in? Ethical consistency cuts through that noise. It's the relief of knowing your private and public selves align. A doctor who refuses to overbill patients sleeps peacefully. A partner who chooses tough conversations over passive-aggressive games builds deeper trust. Kant's framework isn't a rigid rulebook. It's a flashlight in the fog of modern life, revealing which choices actually lead to the world you want to inhabit. So let this be your rebellion. In an age that often rewards selfishness, dare to ask Kant's question daily, what if everyone did this? And watch how it clarifies everything from workplace politics to dating red flags. True integrity isn't about being a saint. It's about being whole. Every time you choose principle over convenience, you're not just making an ethical choice, you're reclaiming your humanity. The quiet strength of that is its own reward. After all, in a world of flickering values, the rarest power is the ability to look yourself in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. So here we stand at the most important question of all. Who are you when the spotlight fades, when the crowd disperses, when no one's left to judge your choices? Kant's brilliance was in showing us that ethics isn't about grand gestures. It's about the quiet moments where only your conscience bears witness. The categorical imperative isn't just a philosophical tool, it's a mirror for the soul. When you universalize your actions, honor the dignity in others, and choose duty over desire, you're not just following rules. You're building a self that no circumstance can corrupt. This is your call to arms in a world that often rewards the opposite. Have the courage to be the person who does the right thing, especially when it's hard. The employee who admits a mistake rather than hiding it. The partner who respects boundaries even when tempted. The stranger who helps without expectation of praise. These choices ripple outward in ways you'll never fully see. But more importantly, they ripple inward, forging a character that no failure can shatter and no success can inflate. Tonight, take just 5 minutes. Reflect on one action from today, a word spoken, a corner cut, a kindness given or withheld, and ask Kant's piercing question: would I want this to be universal law? Don't judge the answer. Let it guide tomorrow. Because legacy isn't left in statues or bank accounts. It's etched in the countless invisible moments where you chose principle over convenience. The path of integrity is harder, yes, but it's the only one that leads to a life where, at the end, you can say with absolute certainty, I was real. Now, what will your next quiet act of courage be?